So I've been meaning to make a video about the origin of life on Earth. And I know a lot of people think about this. There's been philosophers and scientists and all that stuff throughout the millennia. So my thought process already has a theory name, I should say, and it's called Panspermia. And so if you guys don't know, Panspermia is the thought that there might be life throughout the universe or on select parts of the universe, and that life could have like hitched a ride on an asteroid or a meteorite, a comet or whatever, and then once it impacted onto another planet, then life begins that way, and then through evolution, it forms more intelligent forms of life. But of course, this is just origin of life on Earth. When it comes to origin of life in the universe or just how the universe began and everything, I think that's a little bit too high of a bar to clear, at least for humanity. Because then once you say, well, this is the beginning, somebody will say, well, then what happened before? How did it start? Things like that. So when you say that all the universe started with the Big Bang, then the next question is, well, what happened before the Big Bang? Some people say maybe it's infinite. Maybe it just compressed and then blew up and then compressed and blew up. Although the universe is expanding, it doesn't seem like it's contracting any. So I don't know. But that's the universe. I just don't really know about the universe. I'm talking about the Earth, specifically the Earth. And then when it comes to planets, in case you don't know, if you haven't taken some science class with that, that's just, different minerals and stardust, star explosions, and uh, nebula and everything. Once it comes together and compacts it with all the right elements and stuff, then it forms a planet. I have heard some people say the Earth and Mars once collided, and then that a piece of Earth broke off and that became the moon. And maybe that connection between Earth and Mars is what transferred life. I think that might be possible, but when the Earth and Mars collided, I thought Earth was still being formed, like it was like a hot ball of magma, and then I would have figured Mars would have still have been forming at that particular point in time. So I wouldn't see why Mars would have had the life and the Earth didn't, and then it just transferred it or whatnot. So I can see some form of life being somewhere in the universe. It might have been transported from an asteroid or a meteorite or a comet or whatever. But it usually would have been like microbial life, not like an actual life form. Nobody transferred a life form from one area to another. So like the asteroid or whatever with some microbial life hit Earth, because we are also already know some bacterial or microbial life forms can survive space travel. And so it would have hit Earth, and then some scientists believe it, everything started out in like a pool or like an ocean sort of thing, and then it started off from little microbes, and then it got bigger and bigger, and maybe went to like fish like structures, and then amphibians and rats or whatnot. Basically evolution takes place. And I think that's definitely possible, especially since we've seen how life can just keep going on after disaster and disaster. An example is like the Chernobyl disaster. Of course, we've seen that huge radiation zone. People still can't go in that huge radiation zone, and life still continued on. And then, like, look at Tunguska over in Russia. That's where I believe a meteorite exploded above there or something. And then so just all the trees wiped out, but the trees grew back except for that little circle. But there's still grass and stuff. There's still life in that circle. It might take a little bit longer for life to be there, but there's still life in the surrounding area, and a little bit of life is forming there. And then, of course, we've seen craters all over the Earth, and might have formed lakes, might have formed other forms of life and everything. So it's not that crazy to believe. So a lot of people say, well, if there is life out there, if there's alien life, then that brings up the Fermi Paradox, which is, if there is alien life out there, why hasn't it contacted us, or why haven't we found it, or found its beacons or probes or anything anywhere? Well, I don't know if there's intelligent life close by, because the universe is huge. There might be some intelligent life here, and we're over here and everything, and then they send probes over here, or it might take 500 million light years, at the speed of light, 500 million years to reach us. That's a possibility. But I'm saying, I think there still might be life nearby. I'm not sure about intelligent life, but just life. It might not have space travel or probe technology or any of that stuff. So, saying that we haven't been in contact with them or we haven't found them is kind of ridiculous. And just the universe is just so massive. But I guess the Fermi Paradox is more along the line of, if there's intelligent life somewhere else, why haven't we found it? Still, I think if there is intelligent life super far away, we might not have been able to contact each other because we're so far away, or we haven't been able to find each other because the universe is so big. We're still plotting out, stars and planets and everything. We ran out of names, so we're just giving them letters and numbers and everything. But it is just so massive, and that's just, maybe intelligent life everywhere. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe just life. Maybe. But there's also theories that there might just be life form here in the solar system. We don't have to go outside the solar system. Just the planets here next to the sun, spinning around the sun. Some people believe there might still be some form of life on Mars, not like Martians, but little microbes or something in the water, that they believe there's still water below the surface. And remember, I did a video a little while ago how an asteroid, I believe, hit the Martian surface, blasted all the red dust out, and below it's all blue. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't really know, and that's possibilities, and that's just Mars. Then people are looking at like the moons around Jupiter. There's still other planets all over the solar system, not just planets, but they're moons, they're satellites. So there could be life within our solar system, not necessarily intelligent life that can space travel or talk or anything like that, but just some sort of life, maybe like fishes or something. I don't know. But then that also, you also have to think that form of life would have had to have mutated and evolved and everything to live on that planet. So remember, planets have different sizes, which means there's different forms of different gravitational pools, and then communication would be different. We communicate through talking. Talking is vibrating the air, and then we pick it up with like our little eardrums, and then that vibrates that. That's how we communicate, just through air vibrations. What if there's no air on the planet? They can't communicate through speaking. If there's water, they can do like sonar, like the whales or something maybe. But also, in line with panspermia, a lot of people believe that most of the life came from one certain type of life form, because when you look at all of the creatures on the entire Earth, all of the creatures' DNA, we're all so similar. Even if we look incredibly different, like an octopus, a squid, a human being, a bird, whatever, we still have pretty similar DNA. It is just a slight tweak, but it is pretty similar. And one super obvious visual example is, well, our visual example, our eyes, our nose, our mouth. Haven't you ever noticed how the majority of life on Earth has two eyes and then a nose and a mouth in that same spot, and then ears? Not all life has that. Of course, there's insects with like 6 eyes or compound eyes, and then they might not have mouths, they might have snouts. There's dogs with snouts and stuff. There are variations, but still, it all is usually coming down to the same form, the same formula or whatever. And as I said, scientists say pretty much all of our DNA is very similar. So that still kind of backs up the whole panspermia theory, that maybe all of the life started from this particular microbial or whatever life form that came from somewhere, asteroid maybe, and then just evolved and mutated into different life forms. But that's just my thoughts. That's my theories and stuff. Well, it's not all my theories, but I love to hear what you guys think. Feel free to leave a comment. You don't have to agree with me, but let's just keep it a little bit civil and have a little bit of a scientific discussion,